Every day, security cameras quietly record millions of ordinary moments. Most of that footage is never watched twice, but every so often a camera captures something that wasn't supposed to happen, something that leaves the people involved searching for answers long after the recording ends. The 12 cases you're about to see come from real homeowners, businesses, and security systems. Some eventually found logical explanations, others never did. Either way, every one of these incidents was caught on camera, and everyone left something genuinely disturbed. Case 1. Cassie Bay is a TikTok user who shared a series of videos that started with something that seemed straightforward enough. She had left home one evening after a family argument and gone to stay with her mother for a while to let things settle down.
God says, you know what, I'm gonna do. Oh shit! What is that?
A few hours into the evening, her husband called her, and the moment she heard his voice, she could tell something was wrong. He told her the kitchen countertop had suddenly started vibrating beneath his hand with no explanation. No appliance running nearby, nothing that could account for what he was feeling. He couldn't get it to stop, and after a few minutes of trying, he grabbed his keys and walked straight out of the house. Cassie got home, her husband was still sitting in his truck in the driveway. He wouldn't go back inside, wouldn't even walk up to the front door. They pulled up the security footage together and went through it carefully. A small red packet on the countertop shifts position on its own while her husband stands only a few feet away, completely oblivious, still talking on the phone. A stack of papers beside a baseball cap moves as well, and nobody is anywhere near it.
God says, you know what, I'm gonna do. Oh shit! What is that?
After Cassie came home, the activity didn't stop. Electronic devices began switching on by themselves. 3 loud knocks would come from the front door with nobody standing outside. And the family cat started staring into empty corners of the room with the kind of fixed attention that animals reserve for things humans apparently can't see. Whatever was happening in that house, it didn't seem finished. Strange movement inside an empty house is unsettling enough, but our next case proves that sometimes the most frightening thing a security camera records isn't what you see, it's what you hear. Case 2. Kimberly is a woman who shared her home security footage on Reddit after something happened inside her house that she couldn't easily explain or shake off. She had been unable to sleep one night and got up around 1:30 in the morning to grab a late night snack, moving through the house quietly in the way you do when the rest of the world feels completely still. She was alone, which is the detail that makes everything that followed so much harder to sit with.
Oh, Jesus! Jackie. Hi. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my room.
She was standing in the kitchen when a voice came from directly behind her near the doorway. It was clear and it was deliberate, saying a single word, "Hi." She spun around immediately, fully expecting to find someone standing there, and found nobody. The doorway was empty and the whole house around her was silent.
Oh, Jesus.
What made it stranger still was the way her two dogs were behaving. Normally, they come running the moment they hear food wrappers in the kitchen, but that night they kept their distance and stayed noticeably on edge, the way animals do when something in their environment has shifted in a way that they can't quite process. When Kimberly checked the front of the house, she noticed that a handbag she kept hanging near the front door, one that contained valuable belongings, was gone. Putting that together with the voice, it appeared that someone had actually entered the home, taken the bag, and then made themselves known to her on the way out, which in some ways is more disturbing than if she had never heard anything at all. Kimberly at least heard a voice before anything else happened. In our next case, an ordinary family was simply relaxing at home when an object sitting in plain sight suddenly became the center of everyone's attention. Case 3. Most people set up home security cameras hoping they never actually capture anything worth watching. Rianne wished she could say the same after reviewing her living room footage from July of 2025, because what the camera recorded that specific afternoon was the kind of thing that's difficult to explain away once you've seen it.
Oh my gosh, you are not going to believe what happened in our house the other night.
Rianne's young daughter loves styling hair, so the family kept a hairstyling mannequin head downstairs for her to practice on, an ordinary household object that had never given anyone a reason to think twice about it.
You see that I'm just over there kind of bored, winding some yarn. We're all just kind of watching this documentary on creepy Scientology, which makes the event even creepier.
On this particular day, Rianne was sitting in the living room watching television while her daughter was nearby, and everything about the afternoon was completely normal, right up until the mannequin's head started moving.
Because she's gonna make there she goes. That's her biggest move. She's now looking, but none of us noticed this yet. It takes a little while before I look over and say, what? Wasn't she looking in the dining room? So there we are, still oblivious to the fact that she turned her head completely towards us.
It shifted once, strangely, and without any obvious cause, and in that first moment, it almost went unnoticed. Then it moved a second time, and this time both Rianne and her daughter saw it clearly and unmistakably.
Looking over there, and she looked at my husband. Somehow we missed it or didn't believe it. We're rationalizing it.
Her daughter jumped off the couch and ran straight to her mother in a panic. And Rianne, equally shaken, was already calling for her husband and gesturing frantically at the living room camera, telling him to get his phone and pull up the footage immediately.
Here's clip 2. My little girl jumped off the couch, ran over to me. I'm frantically telling my husband, oh my God, she just looked at me. My daughter's covering her mouth. I'm like, oh my God.
When they checked behind the couch and around the area where the mannequin was sitting, they found nothing that could account for what had happened. No draft, no vibration, no reasonable explanation for why an inanimate object had turned its head in a room full of people going about their evening. An object moving on its own is difficult enough to explain. What happened in this next home is far harder to dismiss, because this time it wasn't just an object that moved, it was a child who was suddenly pulled. Case 4. A girl named Erica posted a video on her account that spread faster than almost anything she could have anticipated, reaching more than millions of views in a short period of time. And watching it makes it easy to understand why. The footage comes from a security camera inside a family home, and it shows something that takes a moment to process even after you've seen it. Erica's brother is sitting inside their grandmother's room, the two of them together in what looks like an entirely ordinary moment, when something grabs the boy by his leg and yanks it away from him with enough force to make his reaction immediate and unmistakable. There is nothing visible in the footage that could account for it. No person, no object, nothing that explains why a child sitting still in a room suddenly gets pulled like that. He didn't wait around to find out what it was, running straight out of the room the moment it happened. Erica says the incident fits a pattern of strange and frightening things that have been happening inside the house recently, and her belief is that something has taken up residence there that the family never invited in. Whether the footage has a rational explanation or not, millions of people watched it and walked away unsettled. For Erica's family, the incident happened only once. The next family has been living with unexplained activity for years, and according to them, it hasn't stayed in just one house. Case 5. Kelly from North Carolina, whose brother Rick has been living through something that most people would struggle to describe without sounding like they'd lost their mind.
So my brother has poltergeist. Everywhere he's gone, we now come to find out it's not attached to the house, it's attached to him.
No, attached to something I have.
Or something he has. That's
Yes.
fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
For the past 2 years, terrifying things have been happening inside his home on a regular basis. And what makes his situation particularly unsettling is something the family only recently worked out. Whatever is following Rick isn't attached to any house he's lived in. It's attached to him personally, or more specifically, to something he owns. Mediums who visited the property told him that he had a haunted object somewhere in his possession, but despite searching, he had no idea what it was or where it might be.
Want to see him? I'll post a whole bunch. If you do, let me know.
The security camera inside Rick's home was the first thing to capture evidence of what he'd been experiencing. Orbs moved through the room in early hours of the morning. While Rick was still sleeping, a door shifted on its own and a dark, transparent figure appeared. Moving through the living room, viewers who watched the footage online pointed out a low-groan audible, and it was coming in the background at the moment the first orb appeared. A sound with no obvious source in a house where the only other living creature was his cat Felix.
Felix. Felix.
The activity grew more intense as weeks passed. A black shadow appeared behind a door before it slammed violently shut, legless, appearing to float, moving in a way that ruled out any straightforward explanation. Weeks later, the same dark shape drifted down the hallway before another door slammed on its own. Rick still lives there, still afraid, and still with no idea how to make it stop. Some of these stories could have ordinary explanations. Others continue to divide people years later. Before we move on to the second half of this list, here's something even stranger. If you're enjoying the video so far, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. We spend hours tracking down real footage, researching the backstories, and separating documented incidents from the internet myths. Also, let us know in the comments down below which case has unsettled you the most so far. We're only halfway through, and the remaining incidents become even harder to explain. Case 6. Security camera footage recorded inside a small shop in Yemen was posted to Instagram and spread quickly enough to pull in viewers from well outside the region. And watching it makes it easy to understand why it caught people's attention the way it did.
خلاص ولا حاجة. كيف حالك؟ خلاص.
من مات عليك؟
ها؟
من مات عليك؟
ولا واحد. خلاص. ما بشتغل، ما عاد نزوجها. يا والله ما. طيب.
The shop owner was standing alone late at night when a woman walked through the door. Nothing about her entrance seemed unusual at first, but the moment she got closer, the man said that he felt something was deeply wrong. Her skin was pale and gray, her face carried an expression that he struggled to describe, and the questions she started asking him made no sense in the context of a late-night shop visit. She wanted to know who had died and why he was listening to the Quran. The man was visibly terrified by the time she left, and when the footage spread online, the comments section added details that the camera alone couldn't fully capture. Viewers claimed that the woman had no normal legs, that what should have been feet were instead hooves. Others pointed to her eyes, saying that they were completely black with no visible white at all. Whether the footage shows something genuinely inexplicable or something with a more grounded explanation is a question the video leaves deliberately open. The judgment, as always, belongs to whoever is watching. Not every unsettling encounter happens inside a family home. But as this next case shows, sometimes the safest place in the house can suddenly feel like the most dangerous. Case 7. A woman named Christine shared security footage on her account that she still hasn't been able to find a rational explanation for, and after watching it, it's easy to understand why it has stayed with her for so long. She had left her young daughter upstairs alone watching television while she went downstairs to clean. The two of them, the only ones in the house. Just moments after she left the room, the camera captured something that made Christine's stomach drop when she reviewed the footage later on. Her daughter turned around and began staring upward at something above her, the way a child looks when they're watching a person standing over them, except there was nobody there. Then a glass object appeared and it fell near the child. Seconds after that, another glass bottle came down on its own, landing directly in front of the little girl's playpen.
Okay, so this is my daughter's playpen that she was in when the bottle thing happened. So she was standing right here. The stem would have fallen about here. And as you can see, like directly in front of that on the other side is the toy bin where the bottle had landed. It landed about here.
When Christine went back to the room and examined the area carefully, there was nothing nearby that the bottles could have fallen from, and the way they landed, straight down, ruled out anything sliding or rolling from a surface. She had never found an explanation for what the camera recorded that day. Christine never found out what caused those bottles to fall. Our next incident has a perfectly ordinary explanation, but in the moment, the person involved believed they were about to face something much, much worse. Case 8. Gina Hell lives in Daytona Beach, Florida, and like most mornings, she stepped outside early to let her dog out. Something she does routinely, usually just to chase off stray cats that somehow tend to gather around her porch. It's the kind of errand that takes about 30 seconds and requires absolutely no mental preparation. On this particular morning, what was waiting outside her door was not a cat, it was a bear. The footage captured the moment that Gina walked out and came face to face with the bear, and her reaction was exactly what most people's would be: immediate, unfiltered panic. What made the footage even more unsettling to watch was the way the camera's light caught the bear's eyes, giving them a reflective, almost demonic quality that made an already frightened situation look like something out of a horror movie. In her panic, she struggled to get back through the door, fumbling with it in the dark, later admitting she never fully closes it when she takes the dog out, a habit she has presumably reconsidered since. According to wildlife expert Mike Orlando from Florida Fish and Wildlife, the bear had been getting into neighborhood's trash when Gina interrupted it and its behavior, lunging forward in a brief bluff charge before retreating when she and the dog backed away. It was consistent with an animal that was just as startled as she was. The bear wasn't looking for a confrontation, it was looking for an exit. Gina said she spends most of her time watching out for gators, snakes, and coyotes when she steps outside. A bear had never fully made it onto the list. Until now. Sometimes it's not the danger itself that unsettles people, it's the mystery surrounding it. The next piece of footage has left viewers arguing about what they were actually looking at ever since it was uploaded. Case 9. Someone woke up one morning, went to check their security camera footage from the night before, and found something on it that they couldn't make sense of on their own. So they posted it online and asked if anyone else could help. The footage shows a strange light appearing on camera first, the kind of thing you might initially write off as a reflection or a passing car, except that what comes immediately after is harder to dismiss. On the left side of the screen, a shadow moves into frame, shapeless enough to leave room for interpretation, but deliberate enough in its movement to rule out the obvious explanations most people reach for first. The person who posted it had no answer for what either thing was, and judging by the responses they received, neither did anyone else. The light and the shadow remain exactly what they looked like the moment they were caught on camera, unexplained. Internet mysteries come and go every day, but our next case is different because the person experiencing it wasn't a stranger online. It was a mother documenting her family's life, who unexpectedly captured something she still can't explain. Case 10. Akina is a mother who has been documenting her son Panko's life on TikTok since the day he was born, sharing milestones and everyday moments with the kind of warmth that makes that kind of account genuinely enjoyable to follow.
Hi guys.
But not everything she has experienced since becoming a mother has made it onto her page, and there is a specific reason for that. Some things take time to process before you're ready to share them with anyone. In the early hours of January 29th, 2024 at around 2:30 a.m., Akina woke up to something strange in her bedroom. Little Panko slept through it undisturbed, which was the only mercy in what followed. The bedroom door opened and closed on its own, and as unsettling as that was on its own, what Akina experienced in that specific moment went beyond what the camera was able to capture. She saw a silhouette standing in the doorway that looked exactly like her husband's, except her husband wasn't home. He was still at work with several hours left before he was due to return. Yet she was completely convinced that he was standing there in the dark, silently watching her. She got up and went downstairs to find him, and that's when the security system activated, as if someone had entered the house. But when she reached the ground floor, none of the lights were on, and the front door was still locked from the inside. Her husband wasn't there. Nobody was. When she came back to the bedroom, the footage shows her freezing in the doorway before slowly walking in and sitting down with a stiffness in her expression that she later attributed to shock. The delayed kind of shock that sets in once your mind has finished trying to find an explanation and come up empty. She has replayed that night many times since, and the video remains on her page. She still doesn't have an answer for what she saw saw standing in that doorway. Akina never found anyone standing in that doorway. The next security camera recorded something equally unsettling inside a building that should have been completely empty. Case 11. Security camera footage from a school captured something during the night that the building's empty hallways had no business producing. There was nobody inside, no staff, no students, no one with any reason to be there at that hour, and yet the camera recorded activity that suggested otherwise. A gate at the entrance began moving on its own, opening and closing without anyone visible nearby to explain the moment. It wasn't a slow drift that might be chalked up to a loose hinge or a passing breeze. It moved with enough purpose to catch attention immediately. Then, before anyone watching could settle on an explanation for that, a ladder that had been leaning against a wall simply fell, collapsing to the ground in a building where there was no one standing anywhere near it. No person appears on the footage at any point. Whatever caused both things to happen that night, it wasn't visible on camera. An empty school is unsettling enough after dark, but our final case becomes even more disturbing once you learn what happened in that house before the new owners ever moved in. Case 12. The backstory behind this footage makes it considerably more unsettling than it would be on its own. The house in the video was previously owned by the husband's best friend, a man who spent his time there consistently feeling like something else was sharing the space with them. He captured multiple orb videos on his Ring camera during that specific period, enough to leave him convinced that whatever he was sensing wasn't just his imagination. He eventually went through a divorce and sold the house, presumably glad to be leaving it all behind. A couple of months after the new owners moved in, an old neighbor reached out to the previous owner on their behalf. The new family had been experiencing things they couldn't explain and wanted to know if he'd had similar experiences. They exchanged footage, his orb videos for theirs, and what the new owners had captured in their living room was recorded on a night when nobody was home. No adults, no children, nobody at all. The footage appears to show a small child, and if you listen carefully, the sound resembles a little girl saying the word help. The new owners are now getting divorced. The house is back on the market. Those were 12 disturbing incidents caught on security cameras. Which case do you think has the most reasonable explanation, and which one still leaves you with more questions than answers? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our next upload. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.